Hi everybody. We're going to do today about 30 minutes or so, 45, I don't know, I'm not good at keeping track. Just a really simple flow class, nothing too crazy. We'll begin seated, so if you want to find just a comfortable seat, some sort of cross-legged position, easy seated pose, lotus, half lotus. If that doesn't feel comfortable for your legs, we're simply going to be sitting still for the first couple minutes. Feel free to stretch your legs out in front of you or sit in any comfortable position. So once you're there though, go ahead and let your hands rest down, whether it be on your knees or the floor. Palms can be down. That usually feels a little bit more grounding, or palms turned up towards the ceiling feels a little bit more open. And then close your eyes. Let's take just a few really slow, concentrated breaths. The breath itself feel grounding, but also focus your attention on your sitting bones pressing down into the floor. Or dependent on how you're positioned, whatever body parts are connecting with the earth. So for me, it's my bottom foot and both knees, the bottoms of my thighs, and use that attention to press down and then through the top of the head lift up. Beginning to create a little bit of space. And whatever that looks like for you, whether that be simply more space in the body if you've felt kind of crunched or compressed, or maybe it's more room to breathe. Good. And then go ahead and reach the arms up into the air. And then take them down in front of you, folding the upper body so that the sitting bones are still connected with your mat though. So even if you just come forward very slightly, maybe the forehead touches the floor, just pause there for a breath, right? We'll take this first one slower and then roll back up to seated. Do that again, arms go up. Got a chair in my way, exhale, come forward and down, forehead dropping, roll up on your inhale. Arms continue lifting and then exhale, come forward. Inhale, roll up and reach up. Just do one more like this. And then roll back up. Good. Take your left hand out to your side and your right arm up and over. Just pause there. And take a couple breaths this first round through. And then release your right hand to your left hand so that the chest twists and faces that direction, and come all the way back up to seated. Good. So up and over, exhale, all the way down, inhale, roll up. Up and over, exhale, inhale, roll all the way up, and we'll just do one more, up and over, exhale, and back to seated. Go ahead and change the way that the legs are crossed once you get there. Whatever leg's on top, take to the bottom, front, take to the back. And just pause here. Go ahead and let the hands rest down again. Close down the eyes. And then tuck your chin in towards your chest. Roll your left ear to your left shoulder. And chin to chest. And right ear, right shoulder. And back in, chin to chest. Just keep going from side to side a couple more times at your own pace. And just take notice of how the neck feels here. No right or wrong way to experience anything in the body. You're just really noticing, observing. And then come back to a nice tall seat, shoulders roll back and down, and an inhale, arms go up. On an exhale, we'll come forward and down. And just like before, let's take this first one slow. So the change in the cross in the legs will change the way, at least slightly, that the hips may feel here. So just see how this one feels. Maybe you walk it down really slowly, dropping the head as you see fit. And then again, with that inhale, we'll roll back up. And once we get moving, that inhale will also bring the arms up overhead. So let's exhale, come forward and down. And we'll inhale, rolling up, arms come up. Exhale down. Inhale to seated, arms lift up. Exhale. And come back up as you breathe in. One more like that. Exhale down. And breathe in to come back up. Good. Float the right hand out to your right side. Again, this first one will take a little slower. Left arm comes up and over. Extend from your left hip like that's pressing down while the fingertips stretch away. So it's this long line that's pulling in opposite directions. Good. And then we'll take that left hand down to the right hand. So everything continues lengthening, but now we're twisting away from it as well. And then we'll lift it all the way back up and up and over. So here's our inhale and our exhale down. We'll inhale, lifting up, and we'll exhale, come back down and over. Let's do two more. So breathe in and breathe out. And we'll start to sweep it around. Last one, all the way up and all the way down. Good. Come back up to seated. Hands rest down. Close down the eyes one more time. Just take a big breath in through the nose. Let it go out through the mouth. Good. And then let's come to staff pose with the legs straight out in front. So I'll turn a little bit. So my hamstrings are crazy tight right now. So if you need to bend at the knees, if that feels better, feel free to do so. Otherwise, legs can be pretty straight. You don't have to lock out the knees. And just pause here. Hands can rest down on the floor next to you. If elbows are bent, depending on how long your arms are, elbows turn back behind. Same deal, they can rest on your thighs. So pause here for just a moment and see how this posture feels. Try and sit up really tall through the top of the head, shoulders back and down, eyes closed. And then walk the hands forward to the feet or towards the feet. If they don't touch, it's not a big deal. If your forehead touches your thighs or if you're still quite seated, all of that is great. Just find where you feel that lengthening through the calves and the hamstrings, the entire back of the leg. Pause here. We're going to move a little bit here too. So we're not going to do any real vinyasas today. Our warm-ups will be all through these like really subtle movements, right? A little lighter, a little easier to breathe through maybe. It's been a long weekend. And then so here we'll come back up to seated. So we'll inhale the arms up. So it's kind of the same deal. And we'll exhale all the way down, hands to wherever. We'll inhale up, arms up as well. Exhale forward. Let's do 3 more of these. Breathe in. Exhale. Inhale and lift. Exhale, come forward. Last one, breathing it up and breathing it down. Oh good, my dog is barking. Good. Go ahead and come back up to seated. Hands come back in behind. So if it feels okay, fingertips point towards the hips. If that's not great on your wrists, feel free to turn them out or even behind. So from here, we're not going to lift the hips quite yet, but let's push down to lift the chest. Shoulder blades squeeze together. Shoulders come back in behind. Good. Keep the feet flexed. Keep the heels pressing down. So even if your knees are bent, that's no problem here. We want to keep actively pushing down through the legs and then just raise the right leg. So notice what happens with the upper body when you do that. You probably come back slightly. Try and keep as still as you can. Same thing with the left leg. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Good. Just one more each side. Exhale. Inhale. Good. Exhale. And inhale. If it feels okay, lift the hips up to a reverse table, at which time the toes can point. If that doesn't feel okay, stay seated. We're just going to do that same thing 2 more times each leg, lifting or lowering. So hips can come up if it feels okay, and we'll exhale, lift. Right leg, inhale, drop it down. Exhale and lift. Inhale, it comes down. Exhale, right side, and inhale. Exhale and inhale. Hips come all the way down. Let's forward fold one more time to help release. Pause here. Upper body nice and long, whether it be lifted or lowered. Just take another breath out and roll back up to seated. And let's come to tabletop here. So legs back and behind. Spread your fingers really wide. And place the heel of the hand right beneath the shoulders. And breathing in, belly drops, look forward, cow pose. Exhale, round to cat pose. Breathe in and keep going at your own pace here. Good. With your next inhale, just come back to neutral. And then find child's pose for a few breaths. And as always, remember that you can return to this posture at any moment of your practice for any reason. Good. With the knees connecting still to the mat, come forward to a kneeling plank pose. Good. And then exhale, press back. So depending on how the shoulders feel here, you may not be able to come all the way back into child's pose without moving the hands around. So let's keep the hands firmly planted, kneeling plank. And then as we press back, we're just going as far as we can. So if it's here, that's fine. If you can sit back a little further, great. If the forehead touches the floor, fantastic. None of it matters that much though. So go to where you're able and then come forward again, kneeling plank. So no matter what, hands stay still, exhale, press back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. One more like that. Breathe in, come forward. Breathe out, press back. And then let's go forward again. Inhale forward. Exhale, elbows bent. So maybe it's just here, maybe you hover the chest, or maybe you come to the belly, but we're gonna inhale, press back up. So just keep that in mind. A couple of these, exhale, we'll press back. So with the breath, inhale forward. Exhale, elbows bent, any amount, it could be anything. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, press back. Inhale. Exhale. Push up. Press back. One more like that. Breathe in. Breathe out. Push up. And press back. So let's take a break from that. Let's bring the arms back along the sides. Child's pose here. Roll out the wrists. Just take them in one direction. And then the other. Good. And then stretch the arms forward. We're going to return to that, but not quite yet. Let's come into down dog here. So take as much or as little movement as always that you need in the legs. Just work out the kinks through the back body. And that could be anywhere. It could be between the shoulder blades or the ankles. And then let's go ahead and come forward to plank. This time though, let's walk the hands back to the feet at the back side of the mat. So take a lot of little steps with the hands here. We're in no rush. And then once you make your way to the back end of the mat, I'll come forward just so I'm not off the camera. Let the head hang low. Let the knees soften. So again, I'm really tight today, so bend more if you need to. Let your chest or belly kind of rest down on the thighs. And then let the neck fully relax and the head hang. Just take a couple breaths here. And maybe you stay really still. You can widen out the feet and kind of shift from foot to foot a little bit. And then leaving the knees bent, at least a tiny bit, roll up to stand. Head lift, shoulders roll back and down, palms face forward, mountain pose. Close down the eyes. Get really grounded through the feet, lifting through the crown of the head. And then everything else is doing something. It's squeezing in, it's lifting up, it's pulling tight, it's pressing down. Right? It's not just, we're not lazy standing here, even though it might look like it. It's just quite active. Good. Then let's breathe in from the back of our mats, arms reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Breathe in, arms circle up to the ceiling. And then same thing, let's just exhale, fold down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Again, breathe in, lift up, circle all the way. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, breathe in, forward fold. On your inhale, walk the hands forward to plank. Drop down to the knees and find child's pose. Take a couple breaths here. Let the forehead press into the earth and rock the head from side to side. On your next inhale, come forward back into that kneeling plank. And then we're going to return to that little flow that we created. So hands stay planted. We'll exhale, pressing ourselves backward toward child's pose. It might not be to it. And then breathe in, come forward plank. Exhale, press back. So just two of those. Let's come forward again, plank. Exhale, elbows bend. We're going to do one more like this. Push up and press back. So again, come forward. This time though, exhale all the way to your belly. And then let's stack the elbows beneath the shoulders into Sphinx pose. We can widen out the feet a little bit. Toes point back, toenails press down. Shoulders pull back and down as the elbows press into the floor. So notice if you feel this in your low back. If so, feel like you're pressing your hip bones down into the ground more firmly. Glutes will engage. And that should help to lengthen out the low back. If you're still feeling it and it's not great, just don't lift up so high. So you may want to walk the hands out further so that the shoulders come forward more, the body lowers, and the shoulders are still stacked on top of the elbows. So go wherever you need. And then let's just pause. Let's close down the eyes. And then let's keep the right elbow where it is. Let's lift onto the left hand, almost like we're going to come into cobra on that side. So left hand presses, let's look over the left shoulder toward the left foot. Right? And we're just pressing down gently. I'm using my body to lift more than anything. The hand is just there for support. And come back through center, down to the left elbow. We'll do the same thing. Right hand to the mat, but it's not cranking into the floor. We're lifting and twisting open with the upper body. So looking over the right shoulder toward the right foot. And then come back down to center, elbows to the mat, elbows out, chest down, hands slide back, up and back to downward facing dog this time. And walk out the feet if you need to. Take a couple deep breaths. And then breathe the right leg up and back. On an exhale, take the right foot to the top end of the mat. Let's go ahead and drop down the left knee. And pause here in this kneeling lunge. Hands can be on the ground on either side of the right foot. They can be up on the right thigh, or they can reach up towards the ceiling. So we're going to stay in this stretch for a couple breaths. Right, letting the hips drop toward the floor as much as feels comfortable. And that might mean that they're quite lifted or that they're dropping lower. Wherever you are though, right, try and lift the chest. And that might be hard. You might not have a ton of room, especially if the hands are on the ground, trying to pick the chest up towards the ceiling. But keep lifting as best you can, dependent on where the hands are. Good, and then if your hands are lifted either to the knee or to the ceiling, drop the hands down and start to shift the hips back. So again, if your leg is really tight through calf and hamstring, you might still have a bend in the knee. You might want to walk the hands back more, and then here we can lengthen out maybe a little bit more and lift the toes towards the ceiling. Blocks under the hands are great here if you happen to have them, if the back or the back of the leg feels tight. And then upper body folds just as much as works out here. Might be a little, might be a lot. Good, and And then let's rebend into that right knee. Let's take the hands on either side of the right foot, shoulder width apart, and then let's keep them there. So we're gonna take a little flow here too. Chest lifts up, shoulders roll back. That's our inhale, or it will be once we get moving. And then our exhale will be to shift the hips backward as we fold over top of the right leg any amount and the right foot flexes. Good, so let's move a little bit. We're gonna do just 3 of these. Inhale, come forward, chest up. Exhale, hips back, toes lift up. Inhale. And exhale. And breathe in. And breathe out, last one. Good, and then breathe in, come forward, lift that back knee up. Let's take a twist, right hand to the sky. Good. And then we're gonna swivel the back foot down, reverse warrior. Lift all the way up and over. And then exhale, let's take side angle. Right elbow to right thigh, left arm can lift up and over at a diagonal, maybe straight up into the air, depending on how that shoulder feels. If it's too much either way, go ahead and drop the left hand behind the back. Left shoulder will peel open. Chest faces forward. Good, let's inhale, lifting the right arm up and over, reverse warrior. Exhale, cartwheel the hands to the mat, low lunge, drop the left knee, stretch the right leg straight back behind you. Good, take the right toes over top of the left leg to the floor and look over your left shoulder toward that heel back there. And nice long side stretch through the right side body. Good, and then we're gonna stay here for a couple more breaths. You can remain exactly as you are. If you want to add on a little bit more of a challenge, press down into your right hand and start to twist the upper body until the left arm stretches up towards the ceiling. Good, wherever you are, we're gonna bring both hands to the mat, both knees to the mat, and then we're just gonna circle the body in one direction. I'm just releasing the wrists a little bit. And then we'll circle the body in the other direction. And toes together. Sit back, child's pose, arms back at the sides. Let's roll out the wrists again. And then up and back, downward facing dog. Good. Breathe in, take the left leg high. Exhale, step the left foot up between the hands, lower the right knee to the ground. So we're back in our kneeling lunge for a few breaths here. So hands anywhere, down, up, or in between. Make sure though that your left knee is stacked on top of your left heel. We don't want it extending forward. It just puts a lot of pressure on that knee joint. And then hips are sinking toward the floor to a comfortable point. And then we'll take that half splits. So hands down, if they're not already, sit the hips back. And again, knee can stay bent, or you can walk the hands back, or maybe a combination of both. The toes will lift up towards the ceiling, lengthen out through the back of that leg, upper body folding as much as you'd like to here. Try and keep the hips squared off. I know I have a tendency to let my hips move away from the forward leg. So in this case, left foot forward, my hips are moving toward the right. Try and keep them really centered. Good, and then we're gonna come forward. So here we'll move a little bit. So with our inhales, our chest will lift, our hands are down. Good, and then with our exhales, where we'll sit the hips backward, leg comes as straight as we can, toes lift up. We want to keep the hands pretty planted here. It just makes the flowing easier. So again, we'll do 3 of these. Let's come forward, inhale, and exhale. Inhale for 2, and breathe out. Inhale. And last one, exhale. And then let's come forward again. We're gonna curl those back toes, lift the back knee up, and take the left hand to the ceiling. Good. The right foot will swivel to 90 and we'll come all the way up, reverse warrior, right into side angle. So I like, normally anyway, to use my front thigh. Rarely do I reach my hand to the ground. It just doesn't feel great for me, but go to where works best in your body. Same deal with the top arm. Straight up, up and over, or again, behind the back. Keep pressing back and down through the right pinky toe. And then inhale for reverse warrior. Exhale, cartwheel both hands to the mat. Drop the back knee, kneeling lunge. Stretch the left leg straight back behind you, and then cross it over top of the right leg. Toes to the ground. Good. Hands beneath the shoulders. We'll turn the upper body toward the right, looking back towards that foot. And you should feel a lengthening through the whole left side body. And it'll depend on where maybe you hold the most tension as to where you'll feel that the most. Could be through the leg, through the hip, through the rib cage. Then again, stay here or really press into that left hand while the right arm then rotates up towards the ceiling. And just one more breath. Both hands to the mat. Let's take both knees to the mat. And let's come to tabletop, but one at a time. So begin with your right hand. We're going to flip the fingertips under and we're going to rock backward and forward. Arm stays as straight as feels okay. Just stretching out through the front of the wrist. Just take one more little rock back and forward, and then we'll release that right hand. Same thing with the left side. Knuckles down as best you can. If that front of the wrist is lifting up, you can bend the elbow some, trying to drop that down. Just see what works for you. We're just lengthening out through the front or the top of the wrist. Going forward and backward a couple times here. Good, and then let's release and come back to tabletop and child's pose. Take a moment in child's pose. Just return to the rhythm of your breath. And then lift up, and let's come all the way down onto our backs. So once you come down onto your back, bend the knees so that the feet are flat on the floor. Good, like you're setting up for bridge pose. I want you to take your left hand to your belly though, and then take your right hand and slide it under the arch of your back. Good, and then here we're gonna just take little tiny lifts like we're coming into bridge pose. As you tilt the pelvis forward, so your pubic bone's kind of coming up towards the ceiling, or like it's tipping toward your face basically, your left hand should feel like it drops downward while you feel your back push into your right hand. So we're not gonna lift up high. We're probably not even gonna, the butt's not even gonna leave the ground. We're just taking these little tiny tilts, and as you do that, I want you to pull in tight through the belly. Good. Breathe out as the pubic bone lifts up and the belly pulls in, and then breathe in as you drop back down. So just take two more of those. Belly should be tight as you exhale. Take one more, breathe out. And breathe in. Good. So same idea, hands removed, elbows bent, upper arms pressing into the floor. We're going to just take a little lift. So maybe our bum leaves the ground this time, but it's not by much. And then we'll come back down. So let's exhale and lift belly tight as we're lifting up. And breathe out. Come back down. Good. Come up. and back down. Lift a little higher and come back down. Lift a little higher and come back down. And lift a little higher. Last one like this, and then come back down. Arms more out in goal posts here. Elbows out to the sides, fingertips stretching to the wall that's behind you. Lift up all the way into bridge pose, but keep your arms here. So you should feel your upper back pressing down into the ground. Let's inhale, straighten the arms behind you, and exhale, bend at the elbows. Inhale, move straight, keep squeezing through the legs. Exhale. Inhale, we'll do 2 more after this one. Good, breathe out, bend elbows. Inhale, stretch long. And exhale. Last one, breathe out. And breathe all the way down. Knees to chest. And take a couple breaths. You can stay still. You can rock around a little from side to side if you'd like to. And then take your left foot onto the ground. Reach your right leg up towards the ceiling. So again, with the tight legs, bend your knee if you need to. Straighten out as much as you can. You don't have to be locked out. Flex the foot. Press up through the heel. Good. And then hold on. Whether it's to the thigh, the calf, the toes, doesn't matter. And on an exhale, lift the head. Good. Try and be light with the hands so you're not cranking on the leg. It's your core that's holding you up. It's not your hands. Good. And then come back down. Cross your right heel over top of your left thigh. Press your right knee away. We're not going to lift the left foot yet, so stay here for just a breath. And then right foot down onto the ground. So same thing left side. Left heel presses up. We're holding on. The leg is as straight as we can. The hip bones are both pressing downward. So notice if you're pushing so hard with the right foot that the hips are lifting up into the air. And then hold on wherever and lift up. Scoop in through the belly. And then try and be light with the hands again. And come back down, cross left heel over right thigh this time. Knee presses out, foot flexes, just pause, and then release. So take both legs straight. I'm running out of room. Both legs straight out in front of you. And we're going to elevate the right leg and just set it down. So super simple. Elevate the left leg. We're going to point the toes this time and set it down. And one more each side. Elevate and lower and left leg and lower. And you can keep going like that, or you can take it a little higher and lower. And right leg, or sorry, left leg and lower. And one more each side. And lower and left and lower. You can keep going like that, the first version, or you can lift the head, hold on to the back of the right leg and lower it down. Left leg, hold on and lower it down. Good, just one more like this, right and lower and left and lower. So 3 previous versions still available. We're going to do 10 reps. Last option is to lift the head, lift the right leg, hover the left leg whole time. So we're going to do 1 and switch, 2 and switch, 3 and switch, 4 and switch, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I went to 11, but we'll squeeze both knees back into the chest. We're going to keep going all day. And then just rock and roll around on the low back. Maybe take it in kind of a circular motion, maybe a bigger movement than you normally would. Just massage out that low back. Take both knees then over to the right side for a twist. Left arm opens out to the left side. So it can be goalpost or cactus or the arms straight, but just to help anchor that shoulder down. Maybe head turns in that left direction. Knees come back into the chest. And we'll drop it over to the left side. Same deal, right arm out, head might turn that way. Take just a few more deep breaths with the knees pointed over to the left, letting yourself sink in for just another breath or two. Then bring the knees back to center, back into the chest, and let the feet come down onto the ground. Knees go wide, soles of the feet come together. Hands now can rest at your sides above the head, or maybe one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. Let the breath slow and deepen here to a comfortable point. Right? And that's the idea with a lot of things in yoga, is finding that sweet spot between effort and complete relaxation or letting go. So finding a point, even within the breath, that it's long and deep, but we're not trying, it's not effortful. And that sweet spot will be in a completely different place for everyone. As we then move into our Shavasana, you're welcome to stay in this position, or maybe you stretch the legs out in front of you and the arms along your sides, or bend at the knees. Make sure that the back feels comfortable wherever you are. You can, even if you choose, come up into a seated position for a seated meditation instead. Take your time though, wiggle around if you need to. Find a spot that your body feels supported so that mentally you can slow down. And I'll leave you for your Shavasana so that you're welcome to stay for as long or as little as you'd like. Thank you for joining me this morning. Namaste.